Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to our second day afternoon keynote. We are working through a couple of logistical things. We have an incarcerated presenter that will be joining us. Philip, I just allowed you the ability to speak. Could you give us a mic check real quick? Uh, you should be able to speak. If uh, if that is not working and you can hear us, I would suggest that you just call my phone and I can just put you on speaker as the alternative, Philip. Um, because it doesn't look as a phone call in that we can elevate you to panelist. So I think
It's
alternatively, if you can.
it's on mute.
Oh, okay,
Okay, it
there we
is on
go.
mute.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, perfect. Can
Hey,
you?
good morning, good
Oh,
afternoon. Can you hear me now?
yes, yes. It's always a blessing to hear your voice. Thank you
Okay.
for joining.
Yeah. It was muted.
Okay. All right, so we have our panelists here. We can go ahead and get started. So I just want to again welcome you all to our second day's second keynote presentation. So today's presentation is called Breaking Chains, Building Futures. I will be your moderator. I have four phenomenal co-panelists here with me that I'll be sharing a little bit about who they are here in a moment and telling you a little bit about what this project is. So just to jump right in a little bit about myself, for I know a lot of you I'm one of the organizers of Rise Up. See, I got our nice Rise Up gear on. You've seen my face a couple times in moderation sessions. But just to give a quick introduction, so my name is Stan Andrisse. As you know, many of us that are joining this conference, I am a formerly incarcerated person with three felony convictions. I was sentenced to 10 years in prison as a prior and persistent career criminal. I actually had a prosecutor pushing for 20 years to life in prison because she felt that this young black boy from Ferguson was hopeless. Fast forward some time, I did my time. I'm now Dr. Stan Andrisse, an endocrinologist scientist and newly tenured associate professor at Howard University College of Medicine, the Mecca of HBCUs. I call it the Mecca as a historically black college and university. We are the number one producer of black and brown scientists and physicians in our country. Prior to Howard, I was at Johns Hopkins for about 5 years. Also have a visiting affiliation with Georgetown Medicine. Didn't think I was hustling strong enough, so I took my talents across seas to a place called Imperial College London. Um, and so, you know, I clearly didn't live up to those expectations that prosecutor had those many years ago. To tell you a little bit more, growing up in the Ferguson area, I got involved in making poor decisions at a very young age, started selling drugs before I was even a teenager, arrested for the first time at 15 and moved into the criminal legal system, continued to make those poor decisions to the point of sitting in a courtroom in my early 20s, looking at 20 years to life in prison. And as I mentioned, I got hit with 10. During my incarceration, I very much felt, how does a prosecutor push for life? Many of us on this call, I'm speaking to folks that know that answer. They do that by painting this picture of this dangerous threat to society, this dangerous criminal that is unworthy to be in our streets. And so, that's what the prosecutor was saying about me. So I go into prison very much feeling as if I was this kind of scum of the earth, that I was unworthy to be in society. And so I was moving like that through much of my early incarceration. I was fortunate enough to have a mentor step into my life that saw me using my talents differently. That tied with over the course of the first 2 years of my incarceration, after a number of hospitalizations, surgeries, amputation, I ended up losing my father to his battle with type 2 diabetes. And that led to me picking up my first scientific article on diabetes. And, I often share that, folks, again, not a surprise to this audience, that inside you don't have Google, WebMD, definitely not ChatGPT at that time. So it would literally take months and months to get through these scientific articles. But although my mind, although my body was physically locked in this prison cell, my mind was freely roaming around the human cell. And that's actually when I started this journey of being free. And, so I was free well long before I was actually, I left incarceration. So that led to, me, as I mentioned, getting into these, being fortunate enough to be at those places that I just told you about. I had this mentor that helped me get into school when I got out. I completed my MBA and PhD simultaneously at the top of my class at a school called St. Louis University, then moved on to these other places. For most of that time, I was scared about sharing my background. And, then about 8 years ago, me and a couple of people I was incarcerated with, we wanted to utilize what we had discovered just amongst ourselves, which was, we started helping each other and encouraging each other to pursue higher education and use education as this tool to get yourself from A to B and this tool for healing. And so we decided to, we found prison to professionals as this place of community and peer mentorship and guidance, and really as a playbook to help people move through coming home from prison. And that was back in 2017. Um, Now in 2025, 8 years later, we've had over 2,500 people apply to the program. About 1,000 people have started the program, and nearly 750 people that have completed the program. And four of those individuals are here with me now. So many of you might be familiar that, from that journey, I ended up publishing a book a few years back called From Prison Cells to PhD. It's Never Too Late to Do Good. And I believe we'll be dropping some of these links in the chat here in a moment. But from that, I was doing a lot of talks and speaking engagements like this, and I happened to hop on this really popular podcast. And essentially, every time that I was talking, I was basically telling, my story, just like I just did here. But then, really, for the most part of an hour-long podcast, I'd be talking about these individuals and all the amazing work that our organization has done to really elevate people and their experiences and help them get from A to B. And so from that, another publisher reached out, Wiley, and said, approached me and asked me to write a book about P2P, our organization, and how we've helped all these people. And I said, like, yeah, where's the deal at? Let me tell what you talking about. Like, I was kind of familiar with the space, and we'll talk a little bit about that of how to become familiar with talking with these big publishers. So Wiley's one of the big publishers in the space. And so I was like, no, I don't like the deal that you wrote up first. And so we renegotiated a deal because essentially I didn't want to tell their stories. I wanted them to tell their own stories. And so we renegotiated the deal where so we have multiple authors. I have a couple of the authors here with me. As I mentioned, P2P has had 750 or so people graduate our program. We put out a call of applications once we negotiated this deal with Wiley, and a bunch of people from our network and our family applied. I think we had about 75 applications, and we selected 13 authors. I have four of them here with us that will be sharing a little bit about their journey. Um, I know that was a long introduction, but I'll tell you a little bit about me, tell you a little bit about P2P, and then tell you how we got to the book called Breaking Chains, Building Futures. And I have the Breaking Chains, Building Futures, four of the co-authors here with me. Very excited to jump into their amazing stories and how they approach the work and all the amazing things that they're doing. Um, so without further ado, I will just jump right into that. I think Mickey's in the background helping plug and drop links to various things. Looks like he is. Thank you, Mickey, for doing that, for dropping the link to the book. So the book actually drops uh, September 17th, but we encourage you to go pick it up now. We also will have a book launch event that is tied to the Rise Up Summit this Friday. So encourage you, if you're at the Rise Up Summit or in Baltimore, to attend that. Um, but let's jump in. Long introduction. But now to jump into some of the conversation with our co-authors. So just to uh, get started, so each of you, I'll just give an opportunity to just as the first question to just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are. And Philip, would you, so Philip is one of our incarcerated scholars that is one of our co-authors. I know there's potentially time limitations, so Philip, would you mind kicking us off?
Absolutely. Can you hear me? Well, thank you, man, for the opportunity. Like you said, Dr. Andrisse, we've been doing this for a long time. I was a scholar of P2P, cohort 23. I'm an author, nonprofit founder. I'm a consultant of an LLC company. I'm a podcast host, public speaker, you name it. I do mentor work from the inside out. I believe that there's no limitations on what you could do when education is your primary focus and freedom is your number one focus. So I appreciate being here. I'm not going to take up the time. Hopefully you guys heard me, and I'm
Yes.
ready to speak to you more as we go on.
Yes, yes. And can you tell us where you're calling from, and if you don't mind sharing a little bit about your your sentencing or where you're at in that
Yeah,
process? Because I know we're going to get into more questions about that, but
yeah,
just
yeah,
really just give the audience a little bit of understanding of a little more of who you are.
absolutely. Absolutely. First of all, I'm from Baltimore City, Maryland. I'm incarcerated in Washington State right now. I'm currently serving a life sentence. I've been incarcerated for 35 years. I came in at the age of 19. I'm in the process now of making parole. P2P has been instrumental in the reentry component. I have a lot of support. Many people who went to bat for me. And right now, we're just waiting on them to tell me when that's going to take place. But yeah, that's what's going on with me right now. And I look forward to having some good news and information to share more later.
Thank you, Philip. So I'm just gonna start at the top square. Desiree, would you mind going next and just sharing a little bit about who you are?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Good morning to those in other time zones. My name is Desiree Riley, but most people call me Dezi. I'm a mother of five between the ages of 1 and 19 years old. My oldest just left for college a few weeks ago in Georgia. Missing him much. I'm also a nonprofit director. I founded a nonprofit called the Mastermind Cooperative based in Philadelphia. And our primary goals are focusing on overall holistic well-being, youth empowerment, poverty alleviation, all the things, as well as sustainability and green space design, because we understand that as we beautify our spaces, at least here in Philadelphia, studies have shown that by beautifying and developing green spaces and delight in dilapidated areas and blight, it can decrease gun violence by up to 29%. And if that's something that we can do is like use the earth as canvas to create beautiful spaces for our families to enjoy and across generations. That's just a small contribution. And I believe it really helps to, remediate some of the root causes that lead us into the pathways that got us here together, enjoying each other's company. Those of us that are directly impacted, and as well as sharing the thanks to those who are supporters of those who have been impacted, the families and others that are, less directly impacted. You're just as important, and we appreciate you. Thank you for having us here, Dr. Stan, and leading this charge and bringing us with you. You are amazing.
Thank you, Desi. Kelsey, I have you next on my screen. Would you mind jumping in?
Yeah, sure. So, hi, everybody. My name is Kelsie Becklin, and I guess I would say that I'm happy and healthy, and I'm able to hustle enough to pay all my own bills, which is the thing that I impart on my teenage son that I hope for him when he's an adult. So I do that because kind of like Stan, I'm actually a PhD level scientist. I work in research here in Minnesota, as well as I do teach some biology classes at a couple local colleges, including one on the inside. Um, I guess I'll say one of my claim to fames at this point in my life is that last December, I was awarded my presidential pardon by Biden before he left office. And that was in large part due to my interaction with this community and my efforts towards mentoring and trying to help uplift other people. So that's who I am.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Kelsie, and congratulations on that presidential pardon. I know it's a lot of people I don't think understand the work behind that. It's not just like something that randomly happens. So, congratulations to that and great work to make that happen.
Yeah,
Um,
application to pardon was about 8 years, if people want that time frame. So
yeah, yep. And so thank you, Kelsie. So to our final speaker and co-author that's joining us, Oz, would you mind sharing a little bit about yourself and where you're at?
Oh, how you doing? My name Oswald Newborn. They call me Oz. I reside in the South Florida area, but I'm currently in Nairobi, Kenya right now, and it's 8:59 p.m. So I'm thankful to be on here. Thank you for having me, Dr. Stan. I look at myself as a man of the people, not above, but equal. So everything I do is for the struggle, just trying to help improve communities and societies. And me a little bit, I'm justice impacted. I was sentenced to 2 life sentences in 15 years at the age of 19. And luckily for me, I won an appeal, which they ended up giving me a 40-year sentence followed by a 15-year sentence. And it took me 25 years, 1 month, 13 days to the door to be able to complete that sentence there. So there was so much they said I wouldn't be able to do, but I'm out here. I work in the reentry world in South Florida where we help people released from federal prison, state prison, and our local county jail. And I'm thankful for that. I have my own nonprofit, Libra Life, and I actually been over here working on some criminal justice reform over here in Africa right now, been inside of prison. So through my nonprofit, I would like to do more back at home, but where the doors be open to me is where I go and wherever I can help. So rather staying at doors that's closed, I go through the doors that open to be able to help wherever I can. And thank you for allowing me to be a part of the book. And I'm sure we'll get to unpack more as the panel go on.
Yes. Thank you. So, uh, thank you, Oz. So, as I mentioned, we have four authors here with us. I think there's maybe all of them that are on in the chat, but there's 13. So we have four of our 13 authors here joining us. And so as I mentioned, we put out a call for applications. This is actually a series, so this is actually a multi-book deal with them. So we hope to be able to publish and share more stories of justice impacted leaders and scholars and how we're working to break chains and build futures. We're very uh, thoughtful and thinking of that language of what we're doing. And so let's jump right into some questions. So I want to start with Kelsie. And if you could just share a little bit on, how did or does your lived experience shape both your science career and the advocacy work that you do?
yeah, so I'll start off answering that by just stating that when I went to school, I really A, didn't know what I was going to do, and B, didn't really know what I could legally do. And for me, that ended up looking like, I always say, I kind of played Plinko, where I followed the path of least resistance. And when my Plinko chip got stuck and I had to decide which way to push it, I always went with what was most interesting to me. And that actually led me to getting a PhD. And basically, I work in stem cell biology and genetic engineering for therapeutic development. And a lot of that just came from kind of like Oswald.
The caller has hung up.
Where the opportunities came to me and where the doors opened. I didn't worry too much about the doors that didn't open for me. I followed the ones that did. And this also, I think, like a second really big piece of how my background influences my education and advocacy is that I realized for me the extreme importance of my support system and community And that if I didn't have people stepping into my life to, you know, support me. I was a single mom during this time, and my family stepped in and helped me raise my son so I could pursue education. And from the mentors that I had in higher ed, allowing me to come and work with them. And that, you know, just this sense of community that I needed. But there was one huge piece that I was missing all the way until about I passed my prelims for my PhD, which was that I really was actually missing the connection to other justice impacted people. And that's when I started to work with Stan and P2P and really realize the importance for me of mentoring within my own community as well as those that are in the academic community. So, you know, it kind of just stemmed from my personal experiences with those helping me and me wanting to give back to other people. And so that's led for me to working with P2P among other organizations. And now I get the opportunity to actually teach biology inside. And so that's something I've been striving for and working towards for several years. And I was finally given my opportunity to do that this year. So
Yes, yes, congrats. And
thank you.
um, it has not been really, there's challenges even with the letters behind your name, and we can certainly talk a little bit more about that. But thank you, Kelsie. I'm going to move now over to Oz. And I would also, Mickey, if you wouldn't mind or haven't already, we also have a podcast that we recently launched called Breaking Chains. And Oz kicked us off in that podcast. Oz is actually also the kicks us off in the book with the first chapter of the book. And I mean, you said something that was just, profound. Rick Dilly produced the podcast. He's been working with P2P for some time. We also have several other films that we've created with Rick. But he said, when you was talking with them, he mentioned about like that you have that you had a life sentence. And I mean, you basically said you had two of them, right? You had, and in the state of Florida, you explained how, life means that they will be carrying you out in a pine box. And I thought that was just, you know, that that is something that we do is just mind-boggling to me. And our system does it so pervasively, actually, and particularly to certain people. So my question is, you went from this double life sentence to this international leader that is doing work in Nairobi, Kenya, and all over the globe, including work in our states. Um, what keeps you pushing forward when you have a double life sentence?
To be honest, at times I'll tell people that I didn't even do my time day by day all the time. Sometimes I just had to do it in blocks of hours, like from the time I got up to lunchtime, and from lunch to 4 o'clock count, and then from count to night. But to be honest, it was my faith. And I always tell people, if you ever seen me in some other previous interviews, I always tell people I didn't do the sentence. My body was just there. I say God did that time for me. Because if I would have been doing the time, I would have been bouncing all off the walls. So when they talk about the one set of footprints in the sand, I always know that it was a power greater than me that carried me through that journey. So I would say it was just my faith. Even when that felt fractured at times, my faith carried me. And I just felt that regardless of the sentence they gave me, I felt that my life had a bigger purpose than just the sentence that they were giving to me. So I turned my pain into purpose, and I kept pushing forward. And when I was still inside behind the walls, I didn't even, me, I'm an introvert. And I tell people I'm an introvert. But it was others that actually found a gift I have. And they said, hey, you good with people. You need to do something that help people one day. And I was like, no, that's just not me. But when multiple people kept telling me, hey, Oz, you good with people, you should try to figure out something to do one day that helps people. And that's when I finally embraced the gift that I have. I just tried to say to myself, how do I help people when I get out? How do I help communities? And I pushed out into the communities, doors that was open, I went through. I've been able to do things in the community, but one of the doors that actually opened up to me gave me an opportunity to go on a global platform, international. And as I got into that space, I realized there's a lot of similarities and challenges we have with the criminal justice system in America. It's actually systemic around the world like that. And I hope to bring and share that with people one day. But in pushing forward to international leadership, it's just that I remained humble. When I was given opportunity, I just do what I can to contribute in different spaces just to help the cause go. I never let it be about me. It's always about the cause. And that's how I've been blessed and how I push forward from a life sentence to international leadership. And my next goal is to connect leaders from the other side of the globe with leaders over here and to see what we could do in criminal justice, because we do have a lot of similarities without
I
knowing it.
love that. I love that. I think that was actually there was someone that was mentioning, several people mentioned that in the chat in the closing yesterday of how powerful day one was. And we have a couple international people joining the conference, but as a goal of thinking forward of how we can really, increase international partnerships and engagement in the work. Because we've moved to this global economy and world that I think we need to be just there's a lot to work on here in the States, but I couldn't agree more that we really need to be building those partnerships across the globe. Thank you, Oz. I see Philip has rejoined us. Philip, is your audio on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay,
I'm here.
okay. So I'm gonna move to you next. Um,
All right.
so if you could share a little bit with us, how did you transform uh your decades inside into a foundation? So I don't know if people caught that, it sounds like because there's folks on the outside. I think everyone here is like doing all our other panelists mentioned that they're doing work and they have nonprofits and P2P, our organization helps people not only helps them get education, but helps them push forward in the mission and things that they want to do. So it might seem regular because all the other folks said that, yeah, they got nonprofits and are doing work, but you're serving a life sentence and you've been away for 30 plus years and you have a nonprofit and foundation that you're doing amazing work on the inside. Like, could you share a little bit more on like how how do you do that?
Absolutely. Thanks for the question. I decided that for the programs that was non-existent on the inside, there had to be a way for us to create them for ourselves. And so I just kept thinking about all the things that I need, but yet I was limited because when you're serving a life sentence, you're not included in a lot of the programming. And so for me, I'm the type of person I just can't sit by on the wayside. If there is no way, I have to make one. So that was when I decided, okay, let me reach outside of prison. See, the confines of prison is only meant to hold you within this structure, but you can go outside of it, either by phone, by video visits, by tablets, whatever you got at your disposal. If you can write, if you can speak, if you can create programs, you can make it happen. So I came up with Inside Outside Consults because I wanted to try to change the framework within prison, but also give a space to, at-risk youth by creating scholarship programs for them so that they wouldn't have to end up in the same places I was. And then I said, why not take it a step further? And then I wrote a reentry book. I wrote another gang prevention manual. Then I just created websites, and then I started my own business so I can consult with those on the outside like yourself and collaborate every step of the way, because the people on the inside is connected to the outside, and without both, there's a disconnect. So I just wanted to start by saying that. But as you know, I entered prison when I was 19 years old. And I came in, I was carrying a heavy burden of adverse childhood experience. So I was traumatized from day one. And over these decades that I've been inside, I made a decision that I wasn't going to let prison define me. Instead, I'm going to define what my time looked like. And so I poured into myself through education. Then I went on to mentorship, writing, and then I started creating programs that kind of spoke to the needs of men like myself who wanted to be better, even if they was incarcerated. So I studied human behavior, I studied trauma, accountability, and then I repurposed my prison cell and turned it into a classroom. and a place where I could reflect on what went wrong in my life. And that part right there. And so when it started out kind of like a survival. That soon became a pathway for transformation. And I used the same walls that confined me, and I turned that into a foundation so that I could build better character, and I can have that discipline, and I can become a leader in my own right. And so I had mentored young men because I didn't want them to repeat the same cycle as myself. I got nieces and nephews. I created a reentry model that spoke to healing first because I understood that freedom without inward change was simply a different kind of prison. And so today, no matter what the project that I touch, whether it's restorative justice, whether it's reentry work, mentoring youth, it comes from decades of my lived experience. And so that's how I got where I am. And that's why, I'm able to perform on the level that I do from the inside, and all of my amazing network and my supporters. So I got to give them credit.
Yes. Thank you. It was that network was at work today and the past couple of days and making sure everything was organized correctly. Philip has an amazing team on his foundation that helps him do the work and that we regularly connect with to continue his work here on the outside. And so I'm going to keep us moving forward. I'm going to go to Desiree with this next question. What does breaking chains mean in your life and in the communities that you serve and your organization serves?
Thank you, Dr. Stan. I want to start by saying that Philip's journey doesn't cease to amaze me. He's so inspiring. His work is magical. So I just want to make sure I just make space for that, and much respect to the work that you're doing and everything you've been through and how you continue to persevere. It kind of is a good segue into my thoughts on your question about, breaking chains and like realizing like how you're a sentient being regardless of where you are physically. I think Oswald said like my body was incarcerated, but God was doing the time. And just like the idea of those chains not being real or us not even being our body in itself is extremely liberating because I feel like, I've lived out of the country um, for many years. I've done what I off the grid, had financial, success, whatever, but nothing felt free. And I'm like, I've never been a billionaire, but I can't even imagine that they're free. I just feel like on this planet, there isn't an actual freedom button. There's not a level that you get to where you're just absolutely free. Even if you had nothing and no responsibilities and no one looking for you, we can't just, oh, I want to be, anything. Like there is no actual freedom. And so when I think about the chains, I like to look at life as a business sometimes. And in business, inventory is important, taking inventory of everything, but really like assessing all of our inventory in life, including in relationships. First and foremost, relationships, because I took a couple of notes here, but a lot of times the chains of the identity that others have created for us can be, our biggest obstacle because we then accept those chains as our own identity. We become that identity that is not even us so many times. It's just to accommodate like the reputation, like these ego constraints that we have in this lifetime. But I feel like to break the chains, we have to shed ourselves from that sense of identity, like who we think that we are because we want to show up for other people this particular way. Like, who are we in our essence when all of us is taken? And one thing I'm gonna say for sure, people that have been incarcerated, you experience this, like when everything is taken away from you, you don't have a house, you don't have a car, you don't have your girlfriend or boyfriend, like you don't have the things, like everyone's there, like low key at the bottom together. That is really where I've discovered personally the true essence of humanity. I feel like the people that I met when I was incarcerated, I felt like that was the purest form of who we were. Like we weren't wearing lashes and weaves and all these different things and just all the things that just make us sometimes feel superior to others or feel inferior to others. Like we're all basically on the same level, eating the same terrible foods. You might got a top buck, bottom buck, we're all wearing terrible clothes. And I felt like that to me, in a sense, when it comes to connecting with other people, I felt the most free. Um, just in the sense of just being who I am and not like having to put on a front for anyone or put on a show. It just felt like I could really be myself in that space. And so I just think that just understanding like sometimes the chains are not just mental, but they're like philosophical sometimes. It could be spiritual, just like that bondage and baggage that we wear and we hold on to, like that folder we were given at birth and we've been trying to, maintain that identity, but it's not who we are. And so just shedding that, to me, it's something that I always say. It's like, personally, through the communities I impact, I feel like that is the true sense of liberation, is just being free to be true to who you are and your soul that possesses this body.
Yes, yes. I love it. I love it. Thank you, thank you,
Yeah,
thank you,
thank you,
Desi.
Desiree.
So we have about 25 minutes left or something like that. And I have more questions, but I want to make sure that we get some time for audience questions. So please, if you have questions, drop them in the Q&A. I see we have one question. I encourage you to drop them in the Q&A. If you drop them in the chat, they become kind of hard to find. So please drop your questions in the Q&A. We will be leaving a good 10 minutes or so for Q&A. So please drop that in the chat. So we're here about breaking chains and building futures. And so that really encompasses this idea of everyone on this call and the co-authors, as was mentioned, this idea of being incarcerated. And if you could hear from their stories, there's this, you can metaphorically see the breaking of chains that they've done in their personal journeys, from Dr. Kelsie doing the science work, Oz over here in Nairobi doing the work. Philip is on this, multi-decades long incarceration journey, yet still breaking chains while he's inside. Desi doing the work that she does with her organization. Like, so you can see the breaking chains part, right? So I really wanted to get into the building futures aspect. And so, I mean, we're here at Rise Up really to think about how we as a community can rise up and really build futures is what a lot of the work that we do. And that's kind of where we were thinking when we came to this particular title for the book, is that, we're not just breaking our own chains and, putting ourselves in this place where, as Kelsie opened up, the first thing Kelsie opened up with was that she is happy and healthy. And that's what she wants for her kids, right? So we're in this place of being happy and healthy and doing well, but that's not, there's this higher calling, and that higher calling is this building futures aspect. So I want to touch on that and how you all are working to build futures and create change and impact. So I'm going to start with you, Kelsie. How are you? And if you, since I do want to leave about 10 minutes for Q&A. So we have about 10 minutes in this round of questions. So if each of you can kind of limit it to about 90 seconds to 2 minutes. So Kelsie, how are you leveraging your position as a scientist and in science to inspire and support justice impacted individuals?
Yeah, great question. So I definitely will just say is that with my career, I thought at some point I would sit down and just be like happy as a scientist and like just be a scientist forever and do that. It's not really who I am or what I want, I guess, because yeah, that's where I think, what I'm doing with my career is kind of constantly evolving, and that's where I'm trying out teaching. I really love mentoring. I really love inspiring people to like rise beyond societal standards for them. So whether that's somebody who's justice impacted or whatever other thing might be mentally or actually holding them back. So I am stepping into the teaching world to see if that's the space for me, but I also have a strong desire to also work on developing an equine therapeutic program for people that are previously incarcerated. That's something that's just a passion of mine, is using the power of horses to help heal people. And so I think it's going to be constantly evolving. I think what I say today is probably going to be different in a year, and it'll definitely be different in 5 years, because I'm going to continue to play Plinko and do the things that are open to me and continue to do things that are interesting. I don't think I'll be stagnant. It's just not who I am or what I want for my future or for the future of others that are coming up after me. So.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you. Kelsie was a big part of our STEM Ops project. I think is a good time to drop a little bit about STEM Ops. So STEM Ops was funded by the National Science Foundation to broaden participation in STEM amongst people with criminal convictions and impacted by the legal system. due to this administration, it's been that progress has been a little delayed, but STEM ops is definitely, although in between getting refunded by NSF, still very much alive and still very much a lot of resources that you can go to understand how we can, as a community, broaden participation in STEM amongst people with criminal convictions. So thank you, Kelsie. I'm going to move to Oz. Oz, could you, what lessons in resilience and leadership can others inside and outside take from your path?
Ah, well, what I would say is leadership begins with being able to lead yourself. We can't lead others if we can't even lead ourselves on a straight path. So I would say that part about leadership. But when it comes to resilience, I have to say I'll share a story. And what I would say is, first of all, in life, we have to run our own race. And a lot of times that's where we mess up. We don't run our own race. I was in New York City, and outside my hotel, I didn't know that a marathon was going to be taking place. This marathon took up place all day. So at times I would look at the marathon, hours later, it's still going, but I noticed something that stood out to me. There was people running, there was people walking. I saw people in wheelchairs. I saw a person with a boot on that was using a scooter. And what I noticed, everybody in there was running their own race. For most people, to win, it wasn't even about coming in first place. It was about finishing the race. And that's what we have to remember. We might not move at the same pace as somebody else, but in life, you have to run your own race, and the goal is to get to the finish line. Our setbacks don't really define us. We could take that setback that happened in our life to help it refine us. That's just like the lady that had a boot on, but she still got in that marathon. And the one leg she could use, she was using it on the scooter while the other one was resting on there. So what I would share with people about resilience and leadership, we got to be able to lead ourselves so that we'll be able to lead others, but also we have to run our own race. The biggest competition in life is yourself, to be better tomorrow than you was today, and just keep going forward till you get to the finish line. Run your own race.
I
And that's
love it.
what
I
I would
love it.
say there, Dr. Stan.
Thank you, Oz. I appreciate that. Philip, I'm going to move to you for the next question. What role does mentorship and community leadership play in building futures?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Mentorship and community leadership for me is the bridge between broken past and a more promising future. So whenever someone invests in us with guidance, wisdom, and time, they kind of show us that we are not the mistakes that we made, but rather what our potential can be. So for me, mentorship inside prison was life saving, man. It gave me direction when I couldn't find my way, because prison is a difficult place to navigate. And it kind of reminded me that even in the darkest places, you can still choose to shine. Community leadership also extends in that same principle outside. It's outward. So it's about creating spaces where people feel seen, heard, and empowered to become leaders themselves. Kind of like Oz was talking about, leadership is not about titles. It's about responsibility, and responsibility to guide the next generation so that they can break the cycle of trauma and incarceration. So when you combine them, mentorship and leadership are what builds futures because they plant the seeds of possibility. They create accountability, belonging, and camaraderie. So when people see examples of transformation around them, it kind of gives them permission to believe in their own. That's how you break cycles, not by one man's change, but by building a community that lifts each other up into new futures together.
Mm. Love it. I love it. Thank you, Philip. Such powerful words. Dezi, I'm going to jump to you with this one. What gives you hope about the next generation of women leaders and leaders in general facing the systemic barriers that we're, currently facing and historically have faced?
I think we're in some exciting times. I know from a lot of perspectives, um, sometimes we're being manipulated to think that things are all bad, but I think we're in some really exciting times. I noticed some really positive shifts in generational trends. Self-care is becoming a priority. And in the age of AI, humanity and real connection is becoming the most valuable thing. It's our authenticity that's the real magic. It's the key to making movements. It's the key to building communities and all the things that we're doing here, we're doing right here, like assembling ourselves with intention. Those are the things that matter most when, outputs are being generated like this and like, but it can't generate spirit, it can't generate soul. And so I do think that technology is leveling the playing field. So historically, we're doing things like you said, it would take you months to do something. Nowadays, we can do it in 5 seconds. Instead of looking at it like in a doomer perspective, we can really like leverage it to our benefit and just try to be as positive as we can and magnetize that same energy. We're betting on ourselves at this point, and we're realizing that it will never get cheaper or any easier to succeed. Barriers to entry, when they see us making it, they're going to try to make it harder. They're going to try to increase the fees. They're going to try to add layers of authentication and all kind of verification. So bet on yourself now while we still can. Utilize technology, ride the rocket, jump off when it's time, because I think it's our time now.
I love it. I love it. Thank you,
Hmm.
Desi. Thank you to all of the co-authors for that assignment there, because you stuck to under 10 minutes. So thank you. We're right at about 10 minutes left in our conversation. And I should have known that you would have met the assignment, as you all met the assignment to put this book together. So we actually, that conversation that I had was about a year and a half ago. And then I had conversations with the publisher Wiley for some time, and it was in August of last year that we signed the book deal. So it's been just exactly a year. Then we spent like 6 months writing it. So it actually was a very fast-paced process. And you all met that assignment. There was a bunch of deadlines to get drafts to the editors, and all different types of editors that y'all may not have. I know I hadn't heard of all these different types of editors and publishers that are involved in the process. So you met that assignment, so I should have known you were going to meet this one. But I guess as a final question to you all, why was it important for you to contribute your story to Breaking Chains Building Futures? Because we know that, it wasn't easy. And I should say I know that because I had conversations with each of you as you were crafting your story. So, why was it important for you to contribute your story to this book? And we'll just start Desi, and then we'll just go around. Yeah.
I'm gonna say I believe it was participating in P2P. I was in the 34th cohort, I believe. But through that experience, I really just loved connecting with other people because it could feel so lonely and isolating out here when you're not around like your peers. And when we get together, it just felt like family. I was like, if Dr. Stan is inviting me, I'm taking the opportunity. I'm applying. So when I opened the email, when I talked to him, I applied right away. I'm like, if he's going, I'm going with him. I believe in him. I believe in P2P. I believe what y'all building. So it was a no-brainer for me personally.
Thank you, Desi. And I forgot this is also the lightning round because we do want to get to I see we have some Q&A questions. So, Kelsie, you want to jump in?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so have a lot of anxiety, I'll be honest about this coming out. So maybe I'm feeling super worried about it all. But it was important to me to tell my story in my own words, particularly to those that think they know my story because they maybe read a couple news articles or saw some things somewhere. It was really critical to me as a human to say that this is how I view my story. Even with all the anxiety, I'm glad I did it. And I'm glad that I'm speaking up for others who might be in similar situations as I was, for them to know that there's a different path that they can take. Yeah.
Thank
You
you,
have 1 minute
Kelsie.
left.
Oh man, Philip, jump in. I see you got a minute left.
Okay. All right. Well, let me go ahead and just say, stories are more than words. They're living testimonies of survival, redemption, and possibility. So I definitely wanted to contribute to it, not only just to be heard, but to get the story out from what I have lived. For 35 years, my life was defined by bars, boundaries, and barriers. But within these walls, I was able to find purpose. And I knew that purpose was not meant to remain hidden. So the story had to be told. So I broke the silence. The true often surrounds incarceration. I want people to see the humanity inside the system, to understand that behind every number is a name, a family, and a future worth fighting for. So my contribution is not just about me, it's about every man and woman who still feels unseen, unheard, and forgotten. So that's why I share my story, and I'm going to continue to do so.
Goodbye.
Dang, that is some powerful, powerful words. I know he's gonna try to jump back on maybe for Q&A.
Yeah, I hope so does. I hope so it does.
Yes,
Hope
yes,
so.
yes. Oz, you wanna share why you decided to share a story? Then we'll go into Q&A.
Oh, well, for me, the news and everything, they always report the bad. So if I had a chance to be a part of something where we get to tell our story and be a message of hope and inspiration to others, it was a no-brainer for me. We got, even in the book, we bring awareness to different systemic things that battle. So from a inspirational standpoint and an educational standpoint, I was all in on it. And I can't reiterate enough that if we don't tell our story, somebody else is going to define that narrative and tell a story for us, and it's not always accurate. So for me, whenever given a voice to be able to tell my story or just a bit of my story, I do. And it causes us to have to revisit some of the trauma in our life too. But I think, and Dezi said it on her podcast. She says she don't think that no one ever fully heals. But I think this too is also therapeutic for us in a lot of ways. So yeah, I had to be a part of this. It's part of my therapy, and I'll
Yes,
leave it
yes.
at that.
Thank you, Oz. So thank you to our panelists. Great conversation. We have just 5 minutes left. I see we have some Q&A questions in the Q&A. So I think I could answer Mickey's question real quick. So again, Rise Up is this is our fifth Rise Up conference. So big shout out to that. We've been building. I know we've been building that excitement, our playlists and the energy. And this is going to be the first in-person summit. So we are here in College Park / Baltimore, and the Rise Up Summit will be in person. The closing to the Rise Up Summit is the book launch event for this book, Breaking Chains, Building Future. So if you're here in the Baltimore, Maryland area, or if you're attending the Rise Up Summit, which if you're here in Baltimore, you're not attending the Rise Up Summit, I don't know why you're not. But yes, that event will be Friday in Baltimore City. To Ved's question, yeah, that's powerful. I could touch on it, and anyone else can feel free. So Ved's question was, as you break chains, do any of you ever deal with survivor's guilt? And if so, how do you work through that? And I think that, P2P was almost formed, and we founded. I'm one of the co-founders of P2P in 2017. As I mentioned, we've now had 2,500 people apply, and we've helped the work help people like the folks on this call today. And I think it was all because, I felt this need to give back. So yeah, I think there's a little bit of survivor's guilt when you make it to places like where I'm at now. I just, as I mentioned, just became a tenured professor at Howard University. Uh, and but I think that survivor's guilt is what drives you a little bit to continue doing the work, because you want to get more people in that place. I don't know if anyone else wants to touch on that.
I'll just say quick is that I feel that question a lot. I actually have a co-defendant who he has cycled now multiple times in and out. And I do think that that is a huge motivating factor for me, because every time I interact with a justice impacted person, for me, I'm really interacting with him. I tried to, I've stepped into his life a few times to try to help, but I haven't really been able to catch him yet, um, and help him change it around. And I don't know if I can, but for me, that is why I try to give back, or that is why I do these things, is really I'm always interacting with him. Um, And there is a lot of guilt there, but I know that like by me, every step I take to the positive, I know that, that there's a piece of me that hopes that someday I can catch him and get him to come, you know, to like change the ways that he's living right now and get out of that cycle. But I agree with Stan, is that that's a huge motivator for me, is actually that I have this co-defendant that I really wish I could help him. And so every person I help is just a little piece of me that I'm giving back to him.
Mm. I love that. I love that.
I like to
Desi, do
historic,
you?
like I
Okay,
did
go
answer
ahead.
that, but I had to think about it historically. Like if we were our elders, our ancestors, like what would they do if we're looking at slavery? You may not like go in that turn of things, but you might strategically try to do things like what we're doing with this book, or like the conferences and the building and the strategy and the meetings and the groups within the groups, and just do things to like help the system dismantle itself.
Yeah, no, I love that. Oz, I see a question that you were working on typing. Did you want to just give the answer to that question and share that question, or you're muted right now? Um, so you're still muted for some reason. There you
Yeah,
go.
my bad. I was answering, someone was talking about how did you get past the level 2 background to become like a caseworker? And for me, it didn't start off like that. I didn't choose reentry work. Reentry came and recruited me. And that's because they saw me doing things for free in the community. And somebody that was the director in the reentry center say, man, what you doing, you could be getting paid while you still help people. So that's how it worked for me. But that level 2 background, it's a thorn in your side and it's a thorn in our side. But what you have to do is stay your course. And this is what I've learned. When people see value in you, they gonna help you get past that level 2 background check. So just keep your heart pure, do what you can to help, and somebody gonna help you, or they gonna open that door for you. They get who they want. They get who they want in.
So I agree. One of the brothers in our network um, is in Georgia. One of the first formerly incarcerated directors over their peer mentorship program, and
Logic.
is huh?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, yeah. So, we definitely have some folks that if you'd like more information, please be in touch. I know we're at time. I'm going to try to answer really quickly. I think I can answer this last question by Marmar in the Q&A pretty easy or quickly. There's a lot of different ways you could probably answer it, but one answer that I will give to you is purchase the book, Breaking Chains, Building Futures. What can you do? I think you can share with them stories like these of people that are like them, really helping to create change in our world and break chains and build futures and doing amazing things like being a scientist, being a nonprofit leader despite being a mother of five amazing human beings, being international leader doing work in Africa. So I think you can share this book with them. And actually, the book, there's if you purchase bulk orders, you can get it for a little bit less, and it comes with some curriculum. Each one of I didn't really go into it, but each person has their own chapter, and each one of them were selected because there's different avenues to incarceration, and their experiences are diverse set of experiences, and we've actually created curriculum around that you can use in the classroom. So I would encourage you to pick up the book as an answer to that final question. We are at time. Oh my goodness, I can't believe an hour has gone by. We will continue to rise up. This is Rise Up 2025. This is the 5th year that we've been rising up. We still have more amazing Rise Up sessions for you to attend. Thank you to our panelists. If we can give another round of applause. Thank you all for your amazingness. And I believe someone will be dropping the virtual lobby in the chat and
Are
encourage
we
you
gonna
to
see them
go
on
to.
Friday? We need to see them on Friday.
I hope we see him on Friday. I think we're gonna see him on Friday.
All right,
If
see y'all
we'll probably
soon.
see Wednesday actually, even before that. So thank you all. Peace and blessings. Hope you go to another session and close out Rise Up with a bang. Thank you, everyone.